All right, so we're back with another video. We got my little brother Jake on today. Jake, how you doing?
Good.
Jake is 11 and going into sixth
I'm
grade now, middle school.
yes. Yep.
That's pretty crazy. He's coming back from the homeland in Rochester in Penfield. And you see him sporting all that Bills gear. I love it. So we're going to talk today our top 5 offenses in the NFL following the 2020 draft. We did a video before. However, this is going to be updated, including quarterbacks, and there's a lot of movement from the draft. So this will be the final one going into the 2020 season.
Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports. I'm Trent with my co-host Jake.
I think that is sort of his defining game as a QB.
I just have to say, never go all in on the Raiders ever.
Let's start off. We're going to go 1 through 5. Right down the line, we'll say our top team first. So, little Jake, what's your top team in the NFL? Your top offense in the NFL?
My top offense in the NFL is the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, Dino, what's yours?
Mine's Dallas.
And I got Tampa. So, little Jake first. What do you like most about their offense going into this season?
Kyler Murray's starting to show what he can really do, and the fact that they got DeAndre Hopkins, so they got Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Hopkins will really help Kyler Murray, and I think they can get big.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great trio right there.
Yeah, and getting Kenyon Drake in the offseason too, during last year with the trade. Yeah, they're dangerous.
I know, and DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, he's potentially the best receiver in the NFL. You could debate it. It has the numbers to back it up. So that was a huge get for Kyler. I agree. I think that trio is looking pretty good right now. And they also have like Andy Isabella last year. They drafted him. He's a speedster.
He's my twin.
Yeah, short little dude. But he can run really fast. So I agree. I think they have a lot of weapons on offense that could, you could make the argument could be the best offense in the NFL. Dino, what about yours? What do you like about yours?
Obviously, we got Ezekiel Elliott. They drafted CeeDee Lamb with their first round pick, and then they have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and just like that offensive line coming back too. And I mean, regardless, I don't know how it's going to work out, but Dak Prescott, he's one of the top quarterbacks, like top-tier quarterbacks in the NFL when he plays on his game. It's debatable, but okay. when he plays up to it, he puts up numbers, and now he's got that extra guy with CeeDee Lamb. So now they're like dual receivers, and then Michael Gallup is completely capable of being a number 2 receiver in the NFL, which he'll probably move to number 3. But I think that is just scary, and having Zeke Elliott just to top it off, I mean, one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's tough to argue with that.
I agree. Jake, what do you think about the Dallas Cowboys offense?
I think that's a really good pick because once they all develop together and start to get a feel for each other, I think they could definitely go.
Yeah. So I went with Tampa. I love what they did, adding Gronk, obviously. And then you still got Mike Evans. You still got Chris Godwin. They still are holding on to O.J. Howard. I don't know what they're going to do with him. And we said going into the draft that they needed to add a running back. They added Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt in the 3rd round. So, I mean, I don't really know how he plays in their system, but there's a lot of talent on that offense with Tampa Bay Bucs, and they're led by Tom Brady. So I think that.
And they just drafted Tristan Wirfs too.
That's true. Solidified the O-line.
Your franchise O-lineman there.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that's huge to protect the old man. What do you think, Jake? Jake, do you think Tom Brady is going to have a pretty good year with those guys?
Yes. I do feel like he's Tom Brady. He can do whatever. But I feel like the only reason why I put Tampa Bay at my 5th, but the only reason why I didn't put him higher is because I feel like, Rob's just coming off, hasn't been in the NFL for a season.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a lot of downsides to that, but also, I mean, he's will be a Hall of Fame tight end, and he works really well with Tom Brady. So.
All right, so let's move to our second best offense in the NFL. Jake, who you got
I got the Denver Broncos at my number 2 spot.
Love
Good
that.
man. Good man.
Dino, who you got?
I'm with Jake. I got Denver as my number 2.
Denver, number 2. I'm going with the Chiefs at number 2. All right, let's talk about the Broncos. I mean, talk about adding weapons for Drew Lock. They got Jerry Jeudy in the first round and added KJ Hamler, and they already have Cortland Sutton. I mean, Drew Lock,
Melvin Gordon,
Philip
Lindsay.
Noah Fant. I mean, they got weapons on weapons, a lot of speed. Jake, Dino, I love those receivers that the Broncos have. Which weapon do you think is sort of the meanest out there now?
I mean, Cortland Sutton had such a good year last year, but I mean, adding Jeudy onto your roster, just the best. He's probably the most pure route runner in the draft. He's great at getting separation at the top of his routes, probably better than any other receiver. And just playing at the competition like the SEC, he will be able to transfer that right into the NFL. I think that's a great fit. I think he's going to be a guy who's going to take the top off, just like Cortland Sutton is on the other side is going to be. So I really like that. And then you add KJ Hamler, who's going to be the underneath guy, a solid number 2 slot receiver. He's just going to be able to, get the end arounds, or he's going to get some crossing pattern, and just getting yards after the catch is what he's going to be explosive with.
He's fast.
Jake, I know you like Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay a lot. Like you like a lot of running backs. You like those 2 guys for Drew Lock too?
Yeah, I mean, Melvin Gordon, he's had his ups and downs, but I think since with a new team, new contract, a little more motivated, I think he could really help the Broncos.
Yeah, I
agree. I agree 100%.
But tossing it to you, Trent. All right, Chiefs number 2. I think you really like that Clyde Edwards-Helaire pick.
I do. I think that was such a perfect fit for Andy Reid, and I think he adds a dimension in the receiving game for Patrick Mahomes that they didn't really have before. And I mean, I have him at number 2 simply because they have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's probably the best quarterback in the NFL, and they still got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, so they definitely have a lot of weapons. But yes, I love that addition of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We'll see. Time will tell. All right, so let's talk about our third team. Jake, who you got?
I got the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. I love it. Dino?
I have your Chiefs at number 3.
Okay, and I have Dallas Cowboys. So we touched on, the 2 other teams. So let's talk about the Bills. Jake, who's the best weapon you think coming out of that Bills offense this year?
I feel like we helped our running game with Zach Moss. I'm sure Devin Singletary and Zach Moss will definitely be a big threat.
Yeah.
And then especially acquiring Stephon Diggs to go with John Brown and Cole Beasley, that's going to be unstoppable. And then we drafted 2 other receivers in the draft. So I think
who are some big dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this receiving core is going to be great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's they added a lot of depth in the draft, and I like what you said about Zach Moss and Singletary. I think they're going to complement each other perfectly. You got the bruiser in Zach Moss, and you got a guy who's more shifty side to side with Singletary. Definitely a great duo. And Dino, I mean, maybe you can talk more about that receiving room.
Yeah, I mean, having Stephon Diggs as your new leader, your new number 1 in the room, and he's probably as of now one of the best route runners in the NFL, and he's just gonna take those rookies under his wing, hopefully, and teach them how to run those crisp routes and everything. And then having Cole Beasley, just a veteran guy, just being able to get open, it's just gonna be such a good veteran run room. And I really think the culture is in a great place for that. And I think this is the third year for the quarterbacks is usually the hardest. It's usually their make or break year. So we'll see about Josh Allen. I want to get Jake's opinion. Jake, do you think Josh Allen has a pretty good year this year? Or do you think he takes like a little bit of a step back?
Well, hopefully taking Jake Fromm in the draft doesn't put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, maybe mess up his game. But I think if Allen can hold it together and did what he has done the past 2 seasons and improve, then I think they can go big.
Yeah. To piggyback off that, I definitely agree. He needs to do what he did last year. I actually think he needs to do a little bit less than he did last year. I think he needs to that he needs to put a little bit more emphasis on getting other players involved, not having to do too much himself, because I think that's sometimes where he gets sometimes he tries to do too much as a quarterback, and that gets us in trouble with some turnovers and whatnot. But and I'm not saying like give a lot of or take a lot away from what he does in his game, but I'm saying maybe a little bit less runs, get the ball to your running backs a little bit quicker, or to your receivers, let them make the plays instead of having to extend that many plays like he did last year.
No, I agree. And I think, you're not talking about less stats, obviously. You're saying to do
less.
Yeah, not be such a hero, not try to do hero ball all the time. And I really like that because you have so much talent around you. He's going to be in charge of getting them the ball, and you got to keep Stephon Diggs happy. You got to keep everyone involved. And I like that, like don't run as much, just, quick check downs, whatever, get the ball out of your hands, let your playmakers make plays. And I think that'll do wonders for Josh Allen in 2020. For sure.
Yeah, that's probably why they brought all these people in to sort of lower Josh Allen, like stop being a hero, start doing.
Yeah. Don't play him up all the time.
I mean, it's sort of the same thing that the Broncos did with Drew Lock. It's just surround him with so much talent that it makes his life easier. And everyone else. Cool. So let's go to our fourth team. I have the Denver Broncos, who we just touched on too. But Jake, who you got?
I got the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, interesting. Dino, how about you?
I got the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay, so two teams we haven't talked about yet. Let's talk about the Dolphins first. Obviously, acquiring Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama, that was huge for their offense and for their future. Jake, what did you think about Tua over Justin Herbert?
I feel like it was sort of risky, but if you've seen Tua play, you know that he can be good when he needs to be good. Yeah. So I feel like acquiring Tua, then getting him some line and running backs and extra help, I think he could go. He's going to do good next season. And even if he's not a starter, he will in his next 3 seasons, he'll show his potential.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as a Bills fan, I'm kind of scared for the Dolphins. I think they're building a great foundation there. Dino, maybe you can talk about some of their skill players that they have and on the outside.
Yeah, obviously they bring back Devontae Parker, who had a great year last year. And let's just go to the ground game for a little bit for the Dolphins. They got Matt Breida. They traded for him during the draft. And then they also have Jordan Howard, who they signed last year. So that's a good little duo right there.
Jake, you had the Ravens as your third team. So let's talk about the Ravens. Why'd you have them there?
I think them drafting J.K. Dobbins was genius. I think they had one of the best drafts, in my opinion. First pick, they got Ray Lewis Jr. with the guy from LSU.
Yep,
and
Patrick Queen.
And then they drafted J.K. Dobbins, who fell to them. And, I mean, just think about how Mark Ingram did, and he's kind of an older back. And just adding explosive the only running back in OSU history to have 3 consecutive 1,000-yard years. I mean, in that competition on that team that always is bringing in 5-star guys at running back, I mean, he's going to fit in well with that ground and pound game in Baltimore.
Let's move on to our fifth team. Dino, I want you to kick it off with your fifth team because I'm looking at your list and it's questionable. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so for my fifth offense, I'm gonna say the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow. All right, so the Bengals, number 5. I have the Ravens, who we just touched on. And Jake, what's your 5th best offense in the NFL?
I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay, nice. We touched on them earlier. So, Dino, we got to go back to you with this Bengals. Obviously added Joe Burrow, but why are they your 5th best offense in the NFL?
Okay, so you add Joe Burrow, who's apparently he's been in the playbook for a couple weeks now for the Cincinnati Bengals, just learning everything, which is a great sign. He's already going to go out there and compete. I think he's one of the most complete quarterbacks coming out of college. I mean, I just watching his highlights from college and just being able to extend the play in the pocket, which is a rare feat nowadays. Like a lot of guys like to scramble out of the pocket. He's great at moving in the pocket and he's so accurate even under pressure, which is great. Next, they drafted T. Higgins, and obviously they already have John Ross, A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd on that roster. So those are already have three established receivers who are pretty freaking good. And then I forgot Joe Mixon.
Yep. I was going to say
with Joe Mixon, one of the best running backs, young running backs coming up, and he was leading the NFL in rush yards for a while last year.
Yeah,
for most of the season. But yeah, I mean, I think they have a lot of skill players that people don't realize, and I think if they put it together, like I'm hoping they do, that they can. Obviously, there's not a lot of expectations for them, but I think they could break how many win totals that they have projected for them this year.
Joe Burrow is a pretty accurate guy. He can throw a good ball. So they're area code receivers, so Joe Burrow can throw it anywhere and they can catch it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Michael Irvin Jr. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. We want to thank my little brother Jake for coming on the show. It's been awesome, and we'll see you guys in the next video.